Come with me on a journey as we try to replicate the days of old with some faux plaster pieces for the covers of your journal. I'm Ingrid Carlsen, and I am so very thankful that you are here today, and I can't wait to get started with this project. If this is something that you would like to learn, then stay tuned. Also, if you're not already subscribed, this would be a great time for you to pause the video before we get started and hit that bell so you get notified anytime a new video comes out. I grabbed some of my molds that I have, silicone molds. These are Martha Stewart, and I believe I picked these up at a thrift store a while ago. So we're going to try those. I believe these two are from AliExpress, and I think this will be really pretty. I'm not sure if this one will work, but I figured we could try it together. If you can see, the crevices are very small, so I'm not sure if it would work at all. Maybe the bows will work, so we'll see about that. And I think they're supposed to be for like fondant, so it's supposed to be like really thin. And then these, I believe, are from Walmart, and they're just a rose. I thought those would be pretty. I grabbed a brush, and I also grabbed this tool that I thought might be helpful for like pounding. And you can find some of these in, it's like the clay, like for clay molding and stuff like that. And then I grabbed my glue that you guys know. It's glue and water. And again, I'm not even going to guess what it is. I just put water in until it got me to that consistency. So, we're going to go ahead and, and the star of the show, toilet paper. So for this, you actually want like cheaper toilet paper, 1-ply. So I'm going to be taking this one apart. And then using just 1-ply at a time. I'm also going to cut, and this is like quilted, not the brand Quilted, but just like it's like quilted together. So we'll see how it works. If I have to, I will run. If I have to, I'll run over to Dollar Tree and pick up some more of like it's more like, this is more like cotton, whereas the Dollar Tree one, it's more of a like kind of paper consistency, if that makes sense. So we're going to start with this, and then if this is not working, then we will run over to Dollar Tree and pick up some more. I'm going to go ahead and put this video at 3 times speed so that you can still get an idea of the process, but you don't have to watch it in real time. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips. First off, you're going to see here, I'm going to dip my brush into the glue and straight on the mold. I would strongly advise against that. I think that maybe that was part of my problem. Also, originally I had thought about adding like little strips or little pieces of the tissue paper at once, but as I go on through the process, you're going to see I'm going to actually dip like the whole paper into the glue mixture and kind of like break apart the fibers with my fingers, and so it's going to make it into like a mush, kind of like making your own handmade paper except without a blender. And I think that this way gave me the best results, so that's what I would probably do in the future. Now, I have seen this where people lay one piece at a time and they got great results, so I would love to hear your feedback if you've done this process before, and if you have any tips for us, whether it's laying them, in a certain manner or a certain depth. And I definitely think after doing this project that the more inexpensive tissue paper might have been better This also could have been done with napkins. This is interesting for me because I'm watching this at the end of already completing the project, and I'm doing the voiceover for this portion. But I could definitely see that the other route was so much better. You can even tell as you keep watching, when I start kind of mushing the paper together and sticking it on, it's almost like clay-like. So I think that's why it does better. Whereas with the toilet paper being like one level at a time, it doesn't like get into the grooves as well. And again, that could be because of the type of toilet paper, I'm not sure. But definitely for me, that's what gave me the best results. Something else I have to tell you is be prepared, especially if you do it my way, to be dirty. Make sure that you have clothes that you can get dirty. And I would suggest having maybe a wet washcloth or even a wet paper towel where you could wipe your hands off if you're not right next to a sink. This is where I started kind of pulling apart the fibers of the toilet paper, and it was only because I needed to fit it into that small crevice for those bows. But you're going to see as I get to the bigger pieces, it's still going to work. I'm not sure if it's because I already know the outcome or because I'm watching it back and I can see it, but I can definitely see right there where it just like sunk into the mold. And I think that's why I got such a sharp image specifically on this design. Okay, it's been about 2 hours, and sorry, that's Barkley ripping up a blanket. Hold on, let me stop him. Okay. The only ones that seem to be dry are these 3. These are all still, this one's damp. These are sopping wet. So this is going to take a while to dry. So I'm going to start with this one. So I have the least hopes for this one. Look how pretty. I'll try not to mess with it too much. That's so pretty. And then we can cut, once it's fully dry, then we can cut around the edges and get rid of all the excess. So I'm going to leave it there to continue to dry. The same with these, and the way that I'm pulling them out is I'm going to kind of like let them pop naturally out of the mold so that I'm not messing with the integrity of the design. Let me break that. That is so adorable. So again, the bottom layer is still a little wet, so we'll leave it out. I'm actually wondering if I should take some of them out of their mold while they're wet so that the bottom, which would be the front, would dry. So I think I'm going to do that. Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try with this one and we'll see. Okay, so the design on it is definitely a little, it's not as defined as these. So I'm going to leave these in here and I will check back with you guys a little later. I jumped on here to record my findings, which are sad. So this mold did not, it's still wet, like on the inside. So I don't think that's salvageable. But this one, and also it's like, I don't know, maybe it's just too much because this one had a lot less layers and it's pretty hard. Now it did like discolor, which I don't know what that means, why that happened. So, but then I noticed I left this on open all night long. So hopefully it looks like this glue is fine and maybe I'll be able to clean this out, but it's like completely clogged up and I'm so sad. And if you can relate to this, leave me a comment down below to say glue, because that's so sad. Isn't it? And I was just gonna say the other day, like, I haven't had any issues. Laura of Vintology by Lola made this for me, and ever since then I haven't lost the pin, I haven't misplaced it. And I usually, because it's so big, I can look from, like, when I'm leaving the room, I can look over and see if, to make sure that it is closed. And I must have been in the middle of doing something. I think Dave called me when I was done and I was like, okay, I'm gonna head over downstairs, and then I forgot. So, you know, I love this glue because it holds really well. It's quick drying, but that also means then the issues with it drying up when you leave it uncovered. So anyways, I still recommend it though. I think that might be good enough maybe. So that wasn't too bad. Usually I have to let that little nozzle soak in water, and we're gonna try to stick that in and see if we can salvage it. Okay, these feel like they worked, so we'll see. So again, I got discoloration, which was that the toilet paper or was it the glue? It's kind of weird. So those work. So I would say when you're doing this, and let's see, this one dried, but there's nothing, you can barely tell the imprint of the rose. So I would say this is a fail. But I would say these pieces did come out well. So what I would say is that if you're doing this, don't use as many layers. And also, I'm wondering now, because it's been a couple days to letting it dry, I'm wondering if the mashed like pulp paper worked better or worse. I think I have a small pair of scissors. I don't know if they're sharp though, but let's see if I can get this. I don't think they're sharp enough. These would be great, but I have not cleaned them. So I did go through the comments and someone told me to clean them with alcohol, and then someone else told me to clean them with a Mr. Clean eraser and the what's that stuff called? It's like, I know you've probably seen it at Dollar Tree. It's like yellow, it's in a spray bottle. It's supposed to be like the best cleaning solution on earth. What's funny about that is some young salesman had come to our house when we lived in North Carolina. We were very young. And the guy was one of those like you see on TV that could just talk through anything. He was so informative. He cleaned our like front porch and sold us on that product. And then now years later, they sell it at Dollar Tree. And I feel like we bought it and never even used it. I think a lot of times with products with cleaning, it's the like kind of elbow grease that goes into it as much as the product itself. And so sometimes for myself, I expect it, so I think that's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. For myself, I expect like I'm gonna put it down and it's gonna do all the work for me so I don't have to do anything. I think that's the whole point of the commercials, is like they kind of trick us into that, and then when we go to do it, that's not the case. That's why in my videos I really like to show the process. Actually, oops, I think I broke it. And show the fails as well as the wins, I guess, because it's not always going to work. It's, you know, a lot of things are going to depend on even the temperature outside, the humidity, all that. With this project, I definitely still think it's a good project. It's just not exactly what I thought, and maybe it would work better if you had a bigger mold. So like less, like this one worked better because it was, but then these little ones worked good. So I'm not sure. And now I could have probably avoided all this cutting around if I had ripped the paper ahead of time instead of like mashing it all like in a pulp. I think that if I would have cut out little tiny strips, I would have been okay or better off. Well, these scissors are doing their job pretty well. Okay. Yeah, this one looks pretty good. There's barely any cleanup. And I kind of like some of the edges too, so that might be a look to go for. Okay. This one's going to be the hardest to clean up, I fear, because it's got so much detail, and that's what makes it so pretty. So I'm going to try to cut through. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward you guys so you don't have to watch the whole process of me cutting all this out. I will tell you that when I do pieces where I have to go in, I like to go in on both sides. I'll show you that in a second. And then, so like right here is a perfect example. So I need to go into that space. So what I like to do is go in on the one side and then approach it from the other. Oh no. Approach it from the other side. Was this where I was? Here's where I was, right here. Go on the other side and then keep going back and forth until it cuts out so you can see the little piece. So, okay, let's cut it out. Okay, what I'm going to do now is we're going to try to paint these. I have this brush out, but I think I want a round brush and maybe a smaller brush too, so I can get into the crevices. Okay, I have these brushes and I'm just going to use the paint that I have here. I'm going to start with this, the beige color, and maybe the parchment as well. Whenever I mix paints, I try not to use my brush if I can. My initial reaction is to use the brush, but then you put more strain on it. I'm going to start off with this one, and I'm going to be careful not to pick up too much paint, and I think this is going to be small enough to get in the crevices. I was thinking about adding some water because it would be a lot easier to paint, like the water would make it slide easier, but because we're working with tissue paper, we already know it's degradable, and I don't know if that's a great idea. So I would say probably don't use the watered down paint. Seems like every day that I'm filming, there's someone cutting a lawn. Lawns have to get cut. It's funny, once the paint is hitting it and I'm seeing it kind of take shape, it looks like it's not made out of paper for sure. It looks like it's maybe porcelain or some kind of clay, like a hardened clay. I just want to go in with my brush and kind of like, not stab, but kind of go into the crevices to make sure that there's no paint buildup. That's really pretty. Wanted to look at it outside of camera view so I could see like what it really looks like. We're going to add a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to pull white. This is from Dollar Tree. Oops, that might be a little much, but let's do this. Let's pull some of that over to the side. I wanted to lighten it, but maybe I won't. Let's go ahead and move on to this piece. And I think from here I can, actually, I am going to add that white in. I want it a little lighter. I'm going to wipe some of that off because see what happened when I stirred it, the brush got all like gunked up with the paint, and I don't want to do that. I want it to be, I don't want a bunch of residue of the paint. I just want to paint it. If you've ever painted anything inside your house, specifically wood, this is kind of very similar. You want to do smaller, lighter touch instead of more, because you know, my brain says, well, you know, glop it on and then put it on, it'll be faster, but you don't want to go at this like that. And then right now I'm only painting one side, obviously, because I'm on camera with you guys. You can definitely paint both sides, and it just depends on what your final result's going to be like. If you're going to glue it down, like for, I would say, a cover, then I would not bother with gluing it down. Just going to take the excess off, and I'm going to go in, and it's almost transforming. I hope it's picking up on camera how it like kind of transformed once the paint hit it. Now I do think that the paint is also going to add an extra layer of protection. But you could, hold on, I'm gonna look at it over here. No, like it looks like it is, it does, you could not tell me that this was toilet paper and I would believe it. Like that's pretty good. It looks almost like old plaster. That makes sense. I'm going to add more white, and I was starting to say that I think that you could also add a layer of like a sealant on top. You could do like a polyurethane type of sealant, or you could do, I think I have one. I feel like I just bought one. If I can find it, I'll pull it out. But you can use like you could probably even use, see, I went a little too heavy with the paint, I think. I'm just gonna try to brush it off. Sorry, you can even use, what was I saying? Oh, Mod Podge to seal it. I don't think I have any on hand. Mod Podge is not something I keep on hand much. I know they do sell like the little bottles at Dollar Tree. So I definitely don't like the white as much. I think that the darker color gave it more of that like patinaed look. So I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to go in with the darker, and I'm not putting any extra paint. With this, because the details are so minuscule with the little like feathers, then you want to do less paint. You don't want to put that much pressure on your brush. Maybe try holding it from the back more. And you're just kind of like little circular motions. Your hands will get dirty. That's the fun part though, right? Yeah, I think that that color worked out better. It could have been this was a better print too, like, I mean, a better impression. And that could definitely lead to that. Okay. Let's do this one, and then we'll do the bows. Maybe we'll do the bows. No, we'll leave them in cream. I was going to do them like in a pink. Also, once I'm adding the paint, I realized that this right here can go. I didn't notice that before, so I can always cut it after. I'm going to take a dry brush and try to just go into those little nooks. I'm going to do it with this one too. I don't think it mattered. Also, I'm thinking that as I'm working on it, as the paint, because the paint does have some water in it, or some form of moisture in it. And so I wonder if it's kind of breaking down the toilet paper a little when it hits it. Then it should harden up harder with the paint on it. But I think as you're working on it, like I noticed that some of the details started kind of fading. And I don't know if that's just the paint until it dries and like kind of settles in. Also, the other thing that's really nice about this project is that it's almost fuzzy. That's probably the wrong term, but you can see some of the fibers from the paper, and when it dries, you know, you can't really tell that it's paper, but you can tell that it's some kind of texture, and it just makes it look more organic and like worn, especially this one. Move these out of the way. Okay, so especially this one, you can see like right here, I'm getting some like little fuzzies, and I think it adds to it, specifically right here. Like, I think that's really good. I really like that. I'm going to go in with a little bit of this light color here and just kind of touch some of the petals. I'm not going to go too in depth or anything. That's really pretty. All right, now let's use these on a project. Oh, and I just wanted to say, have you ever been to a fancy restaurant and they give you these little towelettes and they put hot water on them and they expand and you can clean your hands? I mean, I haven't personally been to a restaurant like that, but I did watch a movie where they did that. But anyways, this is what it reminds me of. But I feel like I've seen them somewhere. Maybe I have been. I don't know. Anyways, do you know what I'm talking about? In the comments, right? Fancy restaurant. If you've had the privilege of seeing these in real life, and then tell me, is this what it looks like in real life? I decided that since these are going to take a minute to dry, we could go ahead and get started. I'm just taking some cardboard and I'm going to make a little bit smaller. We're going to do another journal cover because that's what I would use this for. I'm going to straighten out probably just this edge. And I am going to, I think I'm going to paint it first. So I'm going to lay a layer of paint here. I'm kind of doing on here what is called a dry brush technique, where your brush is dry, you don't have a ton of paint on it, and you're just like kind of scraping the paint. I want to get my edges. And then I am going to tear into this cardboard like you've seen me do before. Probably more on the edges so that, let's say if this is sitting here, it can stick. Well, I'm actually going to layer it with papers too. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to go into the cardboard like that. And I'm just playing with it. There's no right way, wrong way. Every time I do this with cardboard, it looks different. So feel free to just play around with it. My original vision is to distress the edges and leave the center whole. So we'll see if we can accomplish that. I like that. I could go in just a little bit with the light color. Actually, I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to use up the rest of the paint though on the edges. So just like you've seen me do, oh, I did not want to do that. That's okay. Just like you've seen me do with like black paint, I'm doing the same kind of technique with a light color, just along the edges. Also, I'm using up that paint. This is going to be my biggest layer that I lay down. just chipping away at this little by little. By cutting little strips off of it instead of like one bigger strip, I also get a really nice jaggedy edge. I like that. And that's better because I can see now the top and the bottom. I have these ladies that we grunged up on Patreon. It's too big. Let's see, I think I have one more. I think she's the winner. Okay, so she'll go on there. Maybe I'll add some of this. I also had that floating around, so I think that's gonna make it. I'm just like tackling into my scraps. Don't think I'm gonna use that. Maybe I'll use this instead, which was one of the pieces from the collage. I forgot the tags I think that we did. I like the back side of that. I like that. I'm going to cut this piece in half and see if I can put it on top too. I think that would be really pretty. I don't know if it'll be too much, maybe. I don't think so. Do you think so? And I think we're gonna use these. I'm gonna put these here. That's kind of my, oh, you know, this one. Oh yeah, it's gonna be that one. So I'm gonna push it all up just a little. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top piece off and I'm going to move all this up just a little. I like that. That way also I can't really read the text. I know it's there. And so I'm going to go ahead and start building this, or glue. Oh darn, that's okay. I'm going to glue it down. And again, I'm not gluing everywhere. I just want it to stick to where it's gonna lay, but I don't need it to be 100% down because I could still add pieces to it. Like this is a little too far down or too far up. I also have some of this ruffle fabric, so let's see how the pink goes. I'm gonna pretend this is here. I'm gonna do book page. I don't think I like either one of those, but I feel like I would like something along this edge, so maybe this will work. I think I really like that. Just right there. I'm trying not to move this because it's very fragile. Also, I think I've said this before, when I'm doing toppers, I like the edges to be not glued down all the way, so it gives it some dimension. I think that's good. So now I'm gonna just add the glue here. And if you feel like you need to add a more heavy duty glue, by all means, do so. I'm gonna take some of this edge and just rough it up. I also would love if I could get this like that. More, a little more distressed. Ugh. Just going to push it down lightly. Usually about 20 seconds, I think, is good. Cut the corner off of this. Yeah, I like that better. It's more distressed like this. Now, if you wanted to add an extra little touch, let's add, this is the darker color. It's like the tan. So you could see I took off the majority that's on this brush. I'm just going to take it on the side and think we're done. So just to, actually, let's get some fabric to add to her. And I think like the other one, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to do a bow or a knot and another knot. And then we're just going to add it right here. And I'm just okay, my final words on this project is I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I definitely think you should try it. Just know what pitfalls could be ahead. Be patient. Don't be hard on yourself. If it doesn't work out, remember, it didn't work out for me either. We're in the same boat. We're in this together. Just don't be afraid to just try and just go for it. And you never know, you could end up with something beautiful like this. So I think it's lovely. I wouldn't change anything on it, to be honest, because now I've learned how to do it, and it's given me the kind of courage to go and try now more mediums, more things. So I hope it does the same thing for you. Again, I want to thank you so much for being here today, for spending your day with me, for your lovely comments and your love. It seriously means the world to me. So I want to tell you today that you are loved, you are precious, you are wonderful, and you are perfect. And I am so happy that we're friends. Thank you again until we see each other next time. Love you. Bye.